Hi, welcome to the Drama-Free Relationship Zone. My friends and family had sent out this link of my podcast to a bunch of people, and I received a letter, and the person had asked if I would be willing to actually read it online and give some feedback. Now, keep in mind, even though I'm a therapist, this is not therapy, it's a podcast. So the information I'm giving is very good information, but you have to use and take what works for you. But I'd like you to listen because this type of drama not only creates anxiety, but it really can decrease your self-esteem, your confidence, and it can create some crazy making drama. Remember the ABCs I talked about last week? The way you think and feel is going to influence your behavior. And that's why sometimes if you start thinking crazy, you can start to act crazy. And that will lead you to choices that sometimes you will regret. So keep in mind, obsessive thinking can lead to crazy-making behavior. So let the drama begin. Hi, I'm Carol Bettino, a psychotherapist and the author of the 2 books, Better Choices, Better Life, and Directions, Your Roadmap to Happiness. Okay, here's the letter she sent. Hi, Carol. I need to anonymously check something out. I'm so confused, angry, and feeling like I'm going and acting crazy. My boyfriend's ex has moved back to town after being gone for 5 years. According to him, she was cheating on him, and she left town with some guy, and it devastated him. We have been together for 2 years now, and he has a thing about not trusting me because of what she did to him. Anyway, I found out he was meeting her for coffee so that they could just catch up and he could get some closure. My insides are telling me the whole thing is weird. I even went to the coffee shop, parked outside to spy. My normal self would never do that. Then 2 nights ago, he came home really late and no call. I was pissed because if I was ever late and stayed out late without calling him, it would be a big deal. And he would be fuming. I asked where he had been, and he said he had been at a bar with 2 of his friends, and he lost track of time. I called his friends, and one of them outright said, my boyfriend's lying, and he was at the bar with his ex. I'm coming out of my skin. I absolutely know I am acting crazy. Help. Okay, let me tell you. In a movie, I see an Oscar nomination. In real life, I'd give both of them the DA award. You'll figure that out later. But the first point I'd like to make is it would be a big deal if she was out late and he had a fit over it and he was fuming. Then why isn't she talking about that when that first happened? So when she was late the very first time and he was fuming, that's when you have to sit and communicate. Communication is such an important part of why we have good relationships or why we have drama relationships. So she should have talked to him in the very beginning and discussed the fact that if you have an issue about trust with her, then you need to work that out, whether it be in therapy or talk with me about it. But I'm not a cheater, and I don't want to be accused of cheating. And I don't want you getting angry at me for something that she did. So that's the first thing that I would say. Now, when her boyfriend moved back, when her boyfriend's ex moved back, she should have talked to him again. She should have brought that up and said, look, I know it's been 5 years and I know she hurt you. Maybe you still have some issues about it, and talk that out. Then he can get his closure through her. Then you start talking about it and you start asking, what was it, that you did after, did you go out with anybody, just talk it out. As long as you're willing to open up, it is amazing where the conversation could go. Then talk again when she found out that they were going for coffee. The first thing I would have been asking when you're going out for coffee is, what closure do you need? What is it that you're looking for? Are you going to get it for her? And then I would kind of bring up the fact that, what about closure for us? how do we then be able to move on so that you don't get upset or think that I'm cheating or question me? So again, the more we open up and talk and communicate, the better our relationship can be. One of the things that I remind people is when you first start dating, talk about not really the past bad stuff, but talk about where you've been in the relationships before, what you're expecting in a relationship now, what's important for you now. I always remind people about my to list, and it's a list of, who you or what you want in a relationship, what's important in a relationship, what you want, what you don't want, what you need, what you don't need, the things that are fun, the things that are not. And I'll talk a little bit more about this towards the end of the podcast. But make that list, but in your mind, these are the things you talk about when you first meet. So for starters, the most important thing is his issue of letting his past relationships spill into the relationship with you. That's what you have to talk about. Really, really important. Now, when you start sharing, I understand that some people are not great sharers. So say, for instance, she was very open and talked about what was going on. He had a difficult time. It's okay to say, look, I know this is difficult talking about your ex, and I'm sorry she cheated on you. I know that really, hurts, and I know that's painful, and I know it does cause problems later on, but I don't want you to bring it into this relationship. I want you to know that I'm not a cheater. I want you to know that you can count on me. But if you question something, just confront it. Talk about it. And that's where I talk about being solution-oriented, not problem-oriented. Too many couples get stuck in the problem. Why? Because they really don't talk about certain things because they're afraid of the reaction. They're afraid of how it's going to, play itself out. That's a big problem. And the more you stay stuck in that, the harder it is to get out of it. So again, what should have happened was that she talked about why he needed closure and being able to talk about how she felt about him meeting her. Now, here's the other point that I'd make. When she had to go to the coffee shop and parked outside to spy, that's the crazy-making behavior. And what I would tell you is that right there is telling you that you have not communicated in this relationship. And that's why you're feeling all of this insecurity, this jealousy, this uncertainty. You're starting to doubt yourself. So don't be a detective in a relationship. That is not healthy. All that does is create more mistrust. And now here's a couple who each of them have trust issues. How are they going to make this relationship healthy? So don't become a detective. Now, keep in mind that where does this mistrust come from? The reaction that she had could come from a fear of being out of control. When we feel like something bad is happening and there's nothing we could do about it, it creates a lot of anxiety. It creates a lot of stress inside our thoughts, our body, and we'll act it out. So it is important at that point, when you realize that you have this fear of feeling out of control, talk it out. Sometimes you have to stand in front of a mirror and just keep talking until you can figure things out. Grab a piece of paper and journal about it. Write some things down. It's like, what am I afraid of? Why am I losing control? I may need to look at, do I have some fear of abandonment issues? And so now all of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm afraid I'm going to lose this relationship. And now you may be more afraid of not being in a relationship. Don't ever be afraid that if this relationship ends, and I'm talking about if you're just dating, that you'll always be alone. People are alone because they choose to be, because they're not willing to take the risk to get back out there. So if you have a fear of abandonment, remember, it is better to be in a good relationship than a bad relationship. But for some people, if you have that fear of abandonment, you'd rather be in a bad relationship than no relationship. That's not healthy. You could also maybe get a trigger from the past, some unresolved issue. It could be from an ex, just like what happened with him. His issue of trust came from an ex. It could also be childhood. But remember, never let your past dictate your present. Now, the spying, the crazy making, it's so crazy. What is she going to do next? Think that he's going to be calling and then say, okay, I'm going to go out and I'll be back later. And then she leaves and then runs into the back door and hides under the bed. And what happens if she farts? And then he hears her. Okay, I guess we could make it a romantic drama comedy. So instead of having the crazy making, confront the lie. You know that he was out with his ex having coffee or in the bar. What you need to do is you confront the lie directly, assertively, not passive aggressively. So in other words, you don't say, so, did you have fun with your friends last night? No, that's passive aggressive. You're upset over it, you know what's going on, but you're not being honest and straightforward. You ask directly. You say, I found out that you were out with your ex at the bar and you lied to me. That's not acceptable. And it's even disrespectful to me. And even though it may have been innocent, I deserve to be told the truth. And then ask, why did you lie to me? Now, don't be afraid of his reaction, but also keep in mind, he may try to lie. He may try to tell you things that are half-truths. Half-truths are still lies. So keep in mind that you want to be able to talk this out. So you may not have any control over his reaction, but you do have control over yours. So no drama. Now, if he were to start to say things like, now you're overreacting, say, I don't deserve to be lied to. I am asking you, why didn't you tell me the truth? Oh, because you would have gotten crazy. What's happening here? He's trying to turn this around and make it about you. You use what I call the broken record technique. You just say the same thing. You don't let him bring you out and triangulate, which means that we're having this conversation and then you're going to push it somewhere else and make it about something else, where then I start trying to justify myself and explain myself. And it's like, I'm not willing to do that. So at that point, that's when you're going to be able to say the same thing and say, I deserve to be told the truth. Why did you lie to me? So no matter what he says, positive or negative, twisting it around, trying to make you feel guilty, no matter what it is, stick to the broken record technique. Do not let him gaslight you during that time. So I think it's really important that when you look at some of these things, that this is how it can turn into a fight. These are the things that happen in a relationship. And a lot of it happens because people get involved too soon. The best advice I can give you is when you get into a relationship, spend time getting to know that person, talk to them, want to know their history, about their family, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what you want in a relationship, what you don't want, the things that are really important to you. And that's why I recommend that you do a list of the things that you look for in a person. And the second list is what I call the non-negotiable list. These are the things that you put that I don't want somebody who's abusive. I don't want somebody who's financially irresponsible. I wouldn't accept somebody who is a drug user. I'm not going to accept somebody who controls me, manipulates me, or tries to gaslight me. In other words, I'm going to make my own list. If I'm really young, it may be a list of, I want to make sure it's somebody that's going to have children with me. I want somebody that has similar religious beliefs. Whatever it may be, your non-negotiable list means if he or she does something that is on that list, that's when you know this relationship is not going to work. You don't have to try to make it work. You have to know that it's not going to work. So at that point, that's when you make that list and you make sure some of the questions that you ask this person when you start dating, it comes out. So one, don't become sexually intimate. right away. That is the worst mistake people make. Slow it down. Don't do it. And if you're really young, talk to your parents before you're willing to do something like that. But if you're older and you think you know better, please don't become intimate too soon. So when you make that list, I want you to really look at it, and I want to do a quick little question for you. If we were best friends and I said to you, I have a friend I want you to meet, and I tell you all the great things about this person, and you're like, wow, he sounds great, or she sounds fabulous. And I say, but wait, one thing. And then I tell you, well, he is abusive, or she is hurtful and disrespectful and probably will cheat on you. And I give you the things that are on your non-negotiable list. My next question would be, do you still want me to meet? Do you still want me to introduce you? If your answer is no, that's a dead giveaway. This is not the relationship for you. I'd like to end with an affirmational quote that I wrote, and it says, I give myself permission to set boundaries regardless of how others will react. I want to thank you for listening. Please let others know about this podcast. Don't forget to hit and click on subscribe, the little bell that'll tell you for notifications, and most definitely thumbs up and make a positive comment. If you have a negative comment, keep it to yourself. No, but really, I really look forward to talking with you next week. Have a great week. Thank you.